If you'd like to hear the full episode or any of the scenario archives, be sure to subscribe and click the link in our bio. Also, like and follow the Scenario Radio Show on all of our social media platforms for more real talk with the playlist. Peace.
All right, guys, you're back with the Scenario Radio Show, and we are so excited to welcome our guest, Keishorne Scott. Keishorne is a Brooklyn native, a Forbes-recognized mentor, entrepreneur, and author of the Heartbreak Workbook. Welcome, relationship and heartbreak coach Keishorne Scott. How you doing, Keishorne?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm doing good, man. It's a good Saturday. I'm feeling good and ready to get some information. But thank you so much for having me on the show.
So let's just dive right into the conversation. I want to know, how did you get started, and how have you been able to coin yourself as a relationship and heartbreak coach?
Well, it's a journey. I didn't just arrive here. I went through some ups and downs myself in my previous relationships. I was engaged about 11 years ago. Things didn't work out. Had to do some healing, some self-discovery, and that kind of transformed the boy into a man. And, I learned a lot of things around the way, a lot about relationships, about myself, what I want out of a relationship, what I don't want, and the type of man and father and husband that I want to be, that I am today.
Okay. I recognize going through a breakup can be difficult no matter what is going on in the world, and getting over heartache can be difficult at any time. But right now we find ourselves in a pandemic. In the people that you engaged, have you found that there's something different about having to deal with such a thing during a pandemic? And if so, what has it been?
I mean, if you're in a relationship right now, it's two sides to this. There's the relationship side, and then there's the single side. Both have their own unique kind of disconnection due to the pandemic. The single side, a lot of people have been lonely or alone, you don't have that sense of connection that you once have, leaving the house, going to a friend's house, going to a networking event. So that could be difficult for some people who's not normally, by themselves consistently all the time. So you might feel like you're kind of disconnected from the world. And then you'll probably see a lot of things in yourself that you don't like. You might be having a lot of self-doubt, insecurities, and that disconnection from the world can put you in a bad spot. And then you have the relationship part, with like me, I couldn't stand my wife sometimes, during the you start seeing a lot of things, leaving a spoon in the sink overnight, wash the spoon. I hope she don't see this though. I hope she don't watch it. But, you learn a lot about your partner, in the relationship. And then when you have children involved and you're there with them for 3 months in a row consecutively, it challenges you, it can either make you stronger, or you can complain every single day and it could be toxic. But it does have its challenges and its ups and downs, for many people.
Yeah. The spoon in the sink is hilarious.
Man, that's our go-to. That's the dinner party, or the friends come over. That's that one thing you talk about.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny, man. That's funny. So what I've always wanted to know, man, whenever you're dealing, and I always think about this, like with people who do any kind of counseling or coaching or anything like that, is there, because I know every situation isn't a cookie cutter situation. Every answer to someone's issue or challenge isn't going to be the same. But is there anything that you start off doing that's maybe foundational questions or a foundational period of time? I guess the best way I can think of it is in football, they say a coach has his first 7 plays mapped out. No matter what's going to happen, he's going to do those, and then he's going to branch off and see if he has to make adjustments. So at what point do you make that adjustment to try to tailor it to the person? Like, is there a foundational period and then you branch off, or like, how does that work?
I mean, a lot of times you ask the right questions. Yeah. Right. You got to ask the right questions, because a lot of people's not going to tell you the truth in the beginning. You'll start to discover the truth as time goes. Like, a woman can say, hey, well, he did this, he did that. That's why the relationship didn't work. He cheated, he left me, he was this a bad person. But you don't tell me about the part you were kind of, verbally abusive to him. You told him that, you're not a man, or you weren't good enough, or you could be a better man, or, you have female traits, or whatever it may be. Those words, you telling the man stuff like that, we're going to react differently. And then when we react differently, you're going to say, oh, wow, why are you so aggressive? It's because of what you told me. You don't see the cause, of the reaction that I'm giving you. So you get to a certain point when you ask the right questions and you try to figure out what they really want. You ask them, what do you want? Where do you see yourself? Or you can even ask them, what lessons have you learned from your previous relationships? Are you healed if you're trying to get over someone or enter a new relationship? There's not a lot of people who are emotionally available to give themselves 100% to someone because they're still attached to their ex, they're still attached to their pain, they're still attached to their past. So it's very deep, but you got to ask the right questions, I believe, number one, in order to create that foundation for that specific person, because everybody is different. Everybody reacts to pain differently. Everybody reacts to love differently, and everybody responds to all of the above differently. Yeah. So every message is tailored to that person's personality, their traits, and how they accept criticism as well too, and how they accept the truth. Because some people won't accept the truth. To accept the truth.
So what do you say to a person in a time like this, and say they're single and they want, and it's a new year, new year, new me. I want to try to take a different approach to how I approach dating, relationships, and all those types of things. But at the same time, we're still in a pandemic. Things are a little rough. You don't know who's a terrorist. What do you what do you tell a person about starting over or starting new in the midst of what's going on right now?
Yeah, I will start off. Are you looking for love out of loneliness, or are you really in a position to accept and receive love? You see, what's the scary thing about this pandemic and dating is that a lot of people are jumping into dating because they're lonely. They felt like they missed something, right? Like last year, you didn't really get to live last year. Last year was so fast. We were quarantining. We were doing this, watching the news. We lost a lot of people. You didn't really get an opportunity to really to date, to love, or meet someone physically. So now people are jumping in like it's a sale, like dating is a sale. You get some kind of discount that you're getting. So a lot of people are jumping into it head first without really thinking or saying to themselves, am I in a position emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in order to receive love and give people the love that they want? Or have I been so lonely last year, or so not even isolated last year, that I just want to be loved. I just want to be touched. I just want to move into something just so I could kind of like bury this isolation syndrome.
Yeah.
Have. So I believe that a lot of people, before you even move into a relationship, ask yourself, am I in a position to give and receive love at the level of my obedience? Or even am I meeting the requirements of my requirements? Because there's a lot of people who are in the pandemic right now and saying that, I'm looking for some. People have their own idea of what they want. For example, they'll say, hey, I want somebody who's lonely. I want somebody who's lonely. I want somebody
that'll kind of help by default,
I want somebody who's trustworthy, honest, loving, caring. Like when I get out of this pandemic, I better get somebody who's this, who's that. But during the pandemic, where you becoming the requirements of your requirements, there's a lot of people asking for things, but they're not willing to become the things that they're asking for. And that's why a lot of disconnection and friction happen in relationship, is because you're expecting him or her to be this type of person, but you're not a reflection of what you want. So now you're contradicting your own requirements.
This is the Scenario Radio Show. Real talk with a playlist.